How are you doing, everyone? I am the Yu-Gi-Oh! Scrub, but please just call me Bailey, and it is that time. It is the time to play a old 1980s video game. Of course, I'm talking about Pac-Man, but we're actually playing Yu-Gi-Oh! We are about to unleash the pure advantage CAMEL and munch all the noobs. That is where the namesake of Pac-Man comes from. I learned that, I think it was Progression or History Yu-Gi-Oh! To be honest. I had not played back then, competitively at least. I was just on the playground, hence Playground Progression. Go check that series out. Went up this Thursday. This will probably be the second video coming out after. Regardless, let's talk about this deck. It is Pure Advantage CAMEL, Munch all noobs. So you are going to be running the Deslakotas. Basically, you're taking advantage of all the cards, or the good cards, that can flip themselves face down, and on flip summon, not flip effect, on flip summon, get an effect, usually drawing a card, popping a monster, or popping a spell trap. Lakota is the draw card, hence pure advantage, munch the noobs. Swarm of Locusts. We're unleashing the Swarm, and I'll talk about Swarm of Scarabs. They do the same exact thing, and Medusa Worm while I'm at it. 3 of each of those. Scarabs and Medusa Worm pop a monster, and Locusts pops a spell trap. So I kind of wish there was another one that's popped spell traps, but Locusts is the only one. I also love the art of Scarabs is okay, but like Locusts, it's like they're literally coming right at you. I think it's sick. Medusa Worm is meh. We're also running 1 Sangan, just because it can get anything in this deck, pretty much. Yeah, anything in this deck. It's just a good card. Magician of Faith, 2 of it. I do want 1 flip monster that can actually, just get me some spells and traps back from the graveyard. And Tsukiyomi, this is something I'm testing. Oftentimes, playing this deck, you might end up with a face-up monster that can flip itself. I was going to say swarm monster. I'll call them swarm monsters. The monsters that can flip face up and down again. And if you end your turn with a face-up one, say it lives and comes back to you, it's annoying because you can flip it face down, but then you have to flip it face up. It'll get its effect, but you kind of want them to end in face-down defense position. Tsukiyomi can help you get there, because basically you can summon Tsukiyomi, flip it face down without its effect, flip it face up, get the effect, flip it face down again, and then you'll end your turn with it flipped face down, which I think is slightly better. Also running Pot of Greed, Graceful Charity Duo, obviously. Snatch Steal, no Premature Burial, because there's really not that many things you'd want to be getting back from the graveyard in this deck. Level Limit Airy Bee and Gravity Bind to slow down the pace of the game. Something I tested in the last duel and I think was pretty sick. The Wave Motion Cannons, 3 of these. The only problem with Pac-Man is you really can have a hard time, actually winning, because you're not doing much. You're just gaining advantage slowly, but all your monsters, the highest attack monster besides Tsukiyomi is Swarm of Locusts, and Tsukiyomi can't attack if you have Gravity Bind or Airy Bee. So, you just poke for 1,000, and it can be very slow games. Hopefully, Wave Motion Cannon can help speed them up a little bit. 2 Noblemen to just get rid of monsters. You really don't want your opponent getting board presence. You win if you can keep all the board presence, but if your opponent gets 3 or 4 monsters and then you are setting 1 a turn, because then they're just going to attack over it, you have to stop your monsters from getting destroyed by battle in this deck. So we're running the Noblemans to stop your opponent from getting the monsters on field in the first place, if they set them, and then 3 Compulse. Normally not a good card, but in this situation it might actually be kind of nice. It does remove the monster from the field, but it's proactive, unlike Sakuretsu Armor, which we're running 2 of, because say a Breaker comes on the field, they can just pop the Sakuretsu Armor, but they cannot just pop the Compulse. You'll get rid of it. We're also running 3 Solemn Judgment, Ring of Destruction, and Mirror Force. Quick side deck, we got the Heavy and Mystical Space Typhoon, just in case we really need to bring in something that might be running like Decrees. 2 Book of Moon, 2 Bottomless for Chaos Monsters, something I want to try out. 2 7 Tools of the Bandit, just in case we see something that might, like a Decree or some decks that are really trap heavy, maybe Solemn Judgment heavy. Breaker, 2 Does Wombat, Asura Priest for Goats, and Kaiku. Extra deck doesn't matter. We cannot even go into it. Let's go ahead, though, and actually, that was set as default? No, Panda Burn was set as default. That was yesterday, so let's go to Pac-Man 2. Pac-Man 1 was a first initial build of this deck. I thought it was okay, but that's why I made some changes. I wanted to do things with the first build. What's the deck? It's not Stumbling Ground. Vengeful Bog Spirit. I believe that's the one that stops your opponent from attacking the turn. Basically gives monsters summoning sickness, and I liked the idea because it's like your monsters on your opponent's side of the field can't attack the turn they summon, so they can't get over the swarms. But it kind of hurts you too because you have to summon your monsters every turn. We got Swarm of Scarabs, 2 of them, Sangan, Pot of Greed, Nobleman, Wave Motion Cannon. I'm going to Pot of Greed here. Compulse and Lakota. Let's go ahead and activate Wave Motion Cannon, set Compulse, and let's set the Lakota. I was thinking about normal summoning Sangan. Compulse will protect the Camel. He sets 3, 4. Okay, so he's running something interesting, maybe. Standby. Let's put a counter on the Wave Motion Cannon main. Flip summon the Camel. Declare the effect. In case he wants to Judgment, I'm sure he wouldn't. It's way too early of a Judgment. I could get in for 15, but I'm actually just going to declare the effect and set it face down again. Oh, he's going to ring. Okay. That's fine. I'll eat 500. I think that's A-okay. Summon the Sangan and attack if he allows it. He does. And I'll set Solemn Judgment. I guess I'll set the extra Compulse as well, because he has 3 back row. I don't think he'll be heavying on this back row. He sets 1 monster and 1 more spell trap. Standby. Put a counter on Wave Motion Cannon main. Let's go ahead and Nobleman, the newly set monster. Magician of Faith. I will have to banish mine. Banish 2 of them, that's all I'm running. Unfortunately, that means we will not be getting a Tsukiyomi Magician of Faith combo anytime this match. I'm just gonna poke with Sangan. If he allows it. Sakuretsu armor. I mean, okay, if you want to give me... I think I'm just gonna get the Camel. Or I could get Swarm of Locusts. Actually, I'm not going to do that. Yeah, no, I'm going to set the Camel. I was like, I could set the Scarabs, because he's going to be thinking, like, why would I set the monster I just added? I could play Mind Games, but no. I mean, yes, it would deal with the monster in theory. Compulse the Mystic Tomato that he just summons. End turn. Medusa Worm draw. Standby. Dust Tornado. Do I want a Judgment? No, I'm fine with that. Dust Tornado, I'm eating the spell and trap removal, and I want to keep my, like, compulses and other stuff. So flip summon the Lakota. Declare. Draw. Sakuretsu Armor's a good card. I've seen 1 sock. I think I will have enough protection here. So I'm going to go ahead and normal summon the Tsukiyomi, setting the Lakota, and attacking. If he wants to use a Sakuretsu armor in this, that's why I didn't want to lose the Lakota. I'd much rather lose the Tsukiyomi. Summons a tomato that was in his hand. I'm going to use my Sakuretsu armor on that. Get another Medusa Worm. Standby. Main. Flip Lakota. Draw a card. There's the Swarm of Locusts. Because I have Solemn Judgment and Compulse, I think the Locusts is the better set here. But I will finally attack with the Camel because I want to start putting some pressure on. If you can call 500 damage pressure. Declare. And set the Locusts and end turn. Again, Locusts is the one that will pop spells and traps. Think. I think I Judgment here, because basically Compulse could put it back to hand, but then I have to Judgment the next turn anyways. I'm going to unsummon, obviously. And so that's 3750. I'm going to compulse the Chaos Sorcerer back to hand. Because he has no lights or darks left. Stand by. Main. Flip summon the Locusts. Popping the one closest to deck. He will set the Locusts. Flip summon Lakota. Draw for Lakota. There's a Solemn Judgment. That's a good draw. And let's poke for 500. Main 2. Set. Let's go ahead and set a Swarm of Scarabs. Set the Solemn and Sakuretsu armor. So he has a dead Chaos Sorcerer, 1 Spell Trap, 1 Unknown, and he just... So that's basically when I said how you need to keep the field presence with this deck. Compulse normally isn't that good, but if you keep the field presence, it can be nice. We saw a Chaos Monster. I'm going to bring in... Actually, no, where is it? Swap those. 2 Kaikus, a 7 tools, and a bottomless for the wave motion cannons. And 1 Tsukiyomi. Excuse me. Draw Lakota, Gravity Bind, Sakuretsu armor, Tsukiyomi Nobleman. He sets 1, sets 2, ends turn. I draw Magician of Faith. Let's go ahead and set the Lakota, set Gravity Bind, and Sakuretsu armor, end turn. Dust Tornado's my Sakuretsu armor, I'm fine with that. Gravity Bind can probably do more work overall. Mystic Tomato, and activate Gravity Bind. Ends his turn. Draw bottomless, that's nice. Flip summon the Lakota. Munch. Get another Lakota. I think the play is actually going to be summon Tsukiyomi, set the Mystic Tomato Nobleman across out. Normal summon this and target the Mystic Tomato. Nobleman the Mystic Tomato. And because I don't want to lose the Tsukiyomi, I'm going to declare to set this card. I'll set the bottomless and to hand it, then turn in. There we go. I just don't want to attack and run into a Mirror Force, because that would suck. He has Graceful Charity. Can't do anything about it, nor would I do anything about it. Discarding a Faith and Tsukiyomi of his own. Now he does have Chaos Monsters. I think he probably would. But he can't attack, so Gravity Bind kind of sucks. I mean, for him. Because Chaos Sorcerer can't banish. BLS could. Draws Pot of Greed. Pot of Greed and Graceful. Same turn, that's nice. Or actually he's 1 card up on me. Heavy Storm, I mean, that's heavy for you. Summons BLS, of course. I bet you feel really good. Like, this is just... I mean, it's GOAT form. I'm not going to, like, complain. I'm happy to play it anyways, but... It's like, yeah, you're really great at this game, brother. Duo would put me pretty low here. I mean, he can already do, like, 6,000 damage. I think I have to activate Duo. Discarding the middle card. Nobleman, okay, that's perfect, because I am going to have to set the Tsukiyomi for some defense and end the turn. Nobleman would have likely been game. Tsukiyomi, although it's not a great out, can kind of deal with the BLS because it can set it face down and stop it from getting a second attack that will deal direct damage. He mind controls, so I'll give it to him. Luckily, it was not the Magician of Faith. That would have sucked. And he has game anyways because he has the breaker. Okay, so there is when you see, like, you just can't let your opponent get the advantage on you and just get going. I'm going to bring in... No, Bottomless almost was good. The problem is, maybe I should run, like, Fake Trap. I know it sounds really stupid, but I saw one guy playing it in a deck, and there's just not many good ways to stop Heavy from going off. And Fake Trap isn't a good way, but it's a way. Best way is Judgment, but even then, sometimes it's like an early Heavy... You're at 4,000 or 8,000 life points, and so you'd have to pay 4,000. Sometimes even then, you're just like, do I really want a Judgment? Because it could be early. Let's go hit the middle card. Hitting a Faith, and he discards Book of Moon. Let's set the Lakota and the Judgment. I may have to Judgment here very early. It's a mind control, so we will move it, give it to him. He will get to Munch. Pot of Greed off the top. He sets 1, sets 2, sets 3. 1 monster, 2 spell trap, and ends his turn. Stand by. Main. Declare. Setting that. Let's flip summon the Lakota. And draw a card. 7 Tools of the Bandit is a good one. Let's go ahead then and I think set the Swarm of Scarabs and the Compulsion 7 Tools. I think I need to make sure Scarabs is on field so he doesn't get more monsters, but other than that, I think I'm relatively safe. Decree in the and I'm gonna Judgment that, sir. I have to. I mean, I need my spells and traps. He's going to Magician of Faith for probably the Pot of Greed, maybe Heavy. You know, he didn't have Heavy. And Torrential. Let's activate 7 Tools. He's going to get the greed back. I mean, he's definitely in a more commanding position, I'd say. He doesn't have the board presence. I do have the Compulse to stop something. Jinzo would be a blowout. I'm going to activate Compulse on the Lakota, just so I don't lose it to the Heavy. He's Tsukiyomi's resetting his Magician of Faith. Creature swap gives him the Swarm of Scarabs. It's actually kind of broken. Yeah, I think he's got this just because that Swarm of Scarabs is very powerful for him right now. That creature swap's actually a nice tech against Pac-Man. So you get to see a good game 1 and almost certainly a lost game 2. I'm not going to give up quite yet, but it's not looking good to say the least. He will hit me for 1,600. I have 1 more turn. Snatch Steal can't do anything because he has no face-up monsters. Gravity Bind. Alright. That's okay. I'll set Lakota. I mean, Gravity Bind can stop the Suki. Okay, that's just game. Yeah, okay. Thank you all for watching. Unfortunately, Pac-Man doesn't get the win. I do think it kind of shows the problems with this deck. You just, if you don't keep the board presence very early on, and that usually just takes pretty good draws, and hoping your opponent doesn't have the outs like heavy or decrees. But when things go your way, it's very fun to use the Pure Advantage CAMEL and to munch all of the noobs. Thank you all for watching. I'm the YuGiOh Scrub. Goodbye.